This is Tom. Tom visits lots of islands. But now that the Libertarian Party's paid referral program is ending, he might only be able to visit a few. For just $1 a day, you can help Tom visit lots of islands. Learn more at LPMC.org and on this episode of the Fakertarians podcast. Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 23 of the Fakertarians podcast. I'm your host, John Hudak, along with Jeremy Kantorowicz, Kevin Shaw, Archie Flower, and our tech guy. So today, we're going to be talking about we don't have a guest. We're going to be talking about the controversy around one Hotep Jesus, who has been invited to an event in California by the Libertarian Party Mises Caucus. Originally, it looked like it was him actually being invited to speak at the Libertarian Party of California convention, but apparently they're holding their own off-site talk across the street or something. Before I get started on anything, does anyone have any thoughts they want to share on our good friend Hotep Jesus?
Golly, that's a complicated issue.
Well, I mean, we can start getting into some stuff because I've got a lot to cover here. So before we get started on anything, really though, I want to reference this post that the Mises Caucus put out in response to some of our criticism. Actually, I should probably share this post so for anyone watching on video can see this. Give me 1 second. Share screen. Where is it? There it is. Hold for a second. Okay, so this is the post they put up in response, saying the LP should do more outreach to minorities, #BLM, and then Dave Smith saying to Eric July, Maj Toure, and Hotep Jesus, hey, you guys want to join the LP? And then the original guy saying, not like that. So I just want to point out that skin color, and I'm talking about Hotep Jesus specifically here so I don't get called out for making accusations about people. Skin color, no matter what skin color you are, doesn't give you a license to be an anti-Semitic asshat without criticism. So now that we've established that, and before we get into actually showing all of Hotep Jesus's anti-Semitic stuff, I was looking through some of his videos today, and I saw a clip of him on Joe Rogan that I'd also like to play for you guys, where he talks about how soy makes you gay. So let me cue this up. Share screen. Here we go.
Right now, everybody that's listening right now, soy is bad for you.
It's not good.
It is very bad for you.
It's processed nonsense. It gives you estrogen.
Yes. Well, it activates phytoestrogen. It has active phytoestrogen that attack the endocrine gland system. Now, when we look at the endocrine gland system, for people in the spiritual world, endocrine gland system is the physical manifestation of the so-called chakras, right? Now, at the heart chakra, what we have is called the thymus gland. And the thymus gland is the one that controls your sexual maturity. And when you have an endocrine gland disruptor, your sexual maturity is affected. So a man who would ordinarily like women now likes, you see what I'm saying? But what?
So that's just a side. This guy's pretty much a crazy person. I know there's some stuff he has about denying the Atlantic slave trade, but okay, you can have some crazy beliefs and stuff, as long as it's not hateful, whatever. Flat earth people annoy me, but I'd rather have I'm not saying he's a flat earther, but I'd rather have a flat earther than a raging anti-Semite or something like that. I don't know how the rest of you feel. But
I think that makes perfect sense. Like, sure, yeah, if you're gonna have this thought that the Earth is flat, and probably everybody's gonna brand you as a little cuckoo, but whatever. Go ahead, think the Earth is flat. I guess the denying the Atlantic slave trade. I mean, that's weird, but probably inconsequential. But yeah, being a raging anti-Semite with and then just changing your messaging, calling it redacted, and
oh yeah, we'll get to that.
Not really changing anything about yourself, and yeah, not good. It's hateful.
Okay, so and before we get to all the substance here, I also want to address the excuse that Dave Smith has been using for Hotep Jesus. Basically, and he can correct me on this if he wants to, but I'm paraphrasing him. He's basically saying that since there's a lot of Jewish landlords in cities, that black people resent Jews for that reason. And Dave doesn't use that kind of... He doesn't make those kind of excuses for the anti-white racism he freaks out about. He doesn't say, oh, well, this is understandable because of segregation and slavery. Like, no, he talks about how you could, this is an exact quote, you could argue there's a huge problem of racism in the country right now, but it's pretty much all coming in one direction, and it's not the one that you guys are thinking of. Like, he freaks out about the anti-white racism stuff, but he doesn't make the excuses for it like that. He's not finding, like, someone who's like saying anti-white stuff with BLM or something and being like, oh, well, I understand why. Like, no, he doesn't do that. He fucking paints BLM as a bunch of rioters. So, Kevin, go.
Yeah, it's kind of to the point of what you said earlier about these memes that are getting shared where it's like, oh, we want black people in the party. Oh, but they're blacking incorrectly. Like, it's incredibly racist. In an effort to call everybody who criticizes these people racist, they're revealing that the only value they place on people like Eric July or Hotep Jesus is the fact that they're black and in the party. I pay you the respect, no matter your ethnicity, to criticize your ideas when they're bad. I'm not going to tiptoe around the bushes because you have more melanin than me. I meet you where you are, and if you bring an idea to my party that is controversial or bad or, contrary to everything we believe, I'm going to stick up to it. I don't know, man. I feel like the opposite is true. Like, they're, in fact, being more racist by not criticizing bad ideas from black people.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you there. And I want to talk about something I just saw in the comments right now. It's not that we shouldn't try to convert people to libertarianism, even if they have bad ideas. It's that we shouldn't be making them like leaders or recruiters. Like, this guy shouldn't be speaking at some big event. He shouldn't be, before the affiliate program ended, he shouldn't be given a link to recruit people to the LP to make money. Like, you don't join and just like rise to the top if you have like terrible ideas. Like, okay, you can hang around and maybe we can tell you why your ideas are shitty, but we don't make excuses for your shitty ideas and put you into like some leadership position.
And I'd wish to mention, because you clarified rightly in the beginning that, inviting Mr. Jesus to speak is a thing that's going to be done across the street, not necessarily at the convention itself. But I was the one who made the motion in my term on XCOM to have the LPMC of California recognized as an official part of the Libertarian Party. So saying it's not official or it's not that's literally a caucus that's a part of by our bylaws is a part of our party. In fact, they get financial benefits, like to get rooms and things for their caucus because they're officially recognized. So I would say that inviting them to speak at an LPMC event is tantamount to having them at the actual convention.
No, that's fair. I don't disagree. I think there should be a lot of pushback against it.
Yep.
So, actually, go on. Before I go on to this Daily Beast article, I want to talk about.
I would like to add to your point about bringing people in to try to convert them. Absolutely. I want everybody to come in if they're going to listen to our ideas and adopt our values. But at the same time, I just want to go on record. Dave Smith is no Daryl Davis. End of story.
Okay, so let's get into some of the meat here, so people can see we're not just like talking a bunch of bullshit. So this guy Hotep Jesus, he was originally going to be invited to a Turning Point USA event in 2018. there was an article that came out, and they just decided to
at the actual convention.
They just decided to kick him out of the event. So I'm going to go through a little bit of this article. We actually have one of the videos that's referred to in the article. So this article talks about how he tweeted that the term Holocaust denier was created to hide the truth. He frequently uses the triple parentheses, which is basically the white nationalist way of referring to Jewish people. I know Jared Howe used to do it all the time. I'm not even Jewish, but I've had the triple parentheses around my name because they like to do the everything I don't like is Jewish thing. He did they're talking here about, he tweeted something out, people in power is always them, with the triple parentheses. That's a frequent one. They or them, like they're being sneaky. And then it talks here about, there's a quote here. I think it's better to play the video for full effect. I just feel like it kind of like shows you it better. So I'm gonna pull that up right now. Okay, let's play this for the audience.
You ain't getting no sound there.
Oh, okay. Let me.
My default Twitter mutes videos.
No, I messed something up. Let me try this again. I had to click a button that I missed. Hold, please.
Use this time to tell Archie Flower to play spaceships with me. Get in the comments and tell him he needs to play spaceships and be my friend.
Okay, so let's try this again. I got it queued up. See if this works.
Alt-right isn't afraid to call out the Jews and their implications in the destruction of the black community in America. It's just the truth. You can't call me anti-Semitic if it's the truth. Go do your Googles on the Jews' implications in slavery and in the enslavement of black people. Go do your Googles. Go do your Googles.
So I just want to add that that's like some like bullshit conspiracy theory stuff, and we've had people in our group complaining about like the Jews, and they were trying to like cite some stuff about slavery, and it ends up being like a bunch of bullshit. But that's neither here nor there. So let me go through this again. It talks about in that article in March 2017, Hotep Jesus went on Red Ice TV, which is literally a straight up white nationalist TV show. I think it was on YouTube for a while. I'm pretty sure they got removed. Like, it's not even me saying, like, I'll say Stefan Molyneux is a white nationalist because he basically like gives you clues he's a white nationalist, but this isn't even that. Like, this is actual like white nationalism. So he went on that show. He praised the alt-right's potential to unlock minds, and he said, "Jews do not like you." This was to talking to African Americans. He said, "Jews do not like you. They hate you. They think you are shit." He also talks frequently about the Jutang clan and how I'm totally serious. He spells it Jutang. This was a tweet, and he's gone through. I swear he even tweeted something about like how he goes through and delete stuff on his Twitter so that he doesn't get canceled, which is totally fucking cowardly. Like if you're gonna tweet stuff out, at least have some fucking balls. But he said in the deleted tweet, "Trump don't run America. He's just a figurehead. Jutang run America." That was in March 2018. This article talks about referring to the Jutang clan. He's blamed Jews for pornography, the deaths of 2 of Bill Cosby's children, the murder of John F. Kennedy Jr., and even the success of trash-talking Instagram rapper Bad Bobby. That's the what the Catch Me Outside girl. So somehow I don't know. Somehow that's a weird conspiracy. But
on behalf of Jews everywhere, please do not blame us for that girl. That's not our fault, man. Come on. There's nothing I could have done to stop her.
Could have caught her outside. But
oh man, from that analysis, it sounds as though Jutang clan ain't nothing to fuck with.
So, going past that article, I'm going to read through. I have some notes on some of his tweets from over the years, and we're just going to do a little bit of a run through here. So, we're going to start back in 2014, and I know everyone's going to say something like, "Oh, look how far away that was," but just wait, we got more.
Statute of limitations, John.
Yeah, the 1 minute statute of limitations on anti-Semitism that apparently exists. But so this is from July 12th, 2014, where he linked to a Holocaust denial article, and he said, "The Holocaust was a hoax. Deep down inside, I knew this." So okay, that's 2014. Maybe he's changed. Who knows? Maybe some people turn over a new leaf. Like if someone said that in 2014, and today they were like, "No, that was totally wrong of me." Like I was wrapped up in some bad shit. Like I'd be like, "Okay, fine. Like whatever." So here's 2017. When you start doing their Googles on people in power is always them, and that's with the parentheses, obviously. Rarely whites or blacks. I have this theory that blacks and whites are the N-words of the world. We're in last place. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it goes in order. China, Arab world, them, huge gap. Whites, Hispanic, black. They got us blaming white people so they can play the background. White people are their scapegoat. Can someone give me stats on how much of Congress consists of thieves? And thieves obviously has the triple parentheses around it. So he's not just talking about people stealing money. He's calling Jewish people thieves. How do we feel about that?
We should get this man a paid recruitment link for the Libertarian Party. Is what we should do. Immediately.
So we can go down. Maybe it's changed since then. I'm gonna go pretty much chronologically here.
Your microphone there.
What was that?
I asked Kevin if Heist just took over his microphone.
Yes, I'm being held against my will. Please send help.
September 10th, 2017. Let's see if he's changed. So this was in response to someone saying that they had no idea that Hoteps were anti-Semites. He said, "The truth is anti-Semitic." Okay, so October 20th, 2017. Let's see if he's changed. If alt-right is anti-Semitic, how did they book a speaking arrangement at a college with the most Jewish students? That's a very insightful there, Hotep. Jesus, thanks. April 11th, 2018. He made a poll, and he said, "Whose call is it to attack Syria?" And the options were Trump and Jutang clan. And from what I remember, I think Jutang clan won the poll, which makes sense because if you're gonna be saying a bunch of anti-Semitic shit, you're probably gonna have an anti-Semitic audience. May 27th, 2018. What's wrong with being anti-Semitic when Semites are anti-Gentile? Okay, so yeah, like I said before, maybe he's changed. January 21st, 2020. In response to a graphic about CNN having a lot of Jewish people. Like it's like one of those graphics that has like all the anchors and then like they have like the Israeli flag next to them. And he said, "Are we allowed to talk about this or has it been legislated against already?" 7 days later, January 28th, 2020, they did the Holodomor. It's no surprise what they are doing to Palestinians. February 12th, 2020. Wait till y'all find out about who owned the steel mining and railroad industry that literally worked whites, blacks, women, and children to death. And when they went on strike, they called the cops or National Guard to beat and kill them. I wonder who he's talking about there. So, like I said, he's learned a little bit since going on his like open rants about Jews hating people or how the Jews run the world and all that shit. So he went through a point where he referred to Jews as like the brackets or something like that, probably referring to like the parentheses he always uses. But eventually he shifted it to the redacted or redacteds. So what do we got here? So like I said, he's a total coward, but as recently as December 22nd, 2020, this was in response to someone saying, "Who is in charge of the executive branch?" And he said that would be redacted. And
Now it's last year.
it is. But actually, if you want, like, I challenge anyone to do this. Go to his YouTube and look for the podcast. I think it's called Hotep's Been Told You, and just pull up the transcript, random episode, and Control F for redacted or redacteds. He'll talk. I was looking at some stuff pre-show, like within the last few months. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure he mentioned it like 2 shows ago. Like, his fans mention it all the time, like in the questions into it. I think he said something about how, like, all the redacted money in the NBA. He said white money, and then he said, "Excuse me, redacted money," or something like that, because he was clearly saying that he meant to say Jewish money, but he can't say that anymore because he's a total coward. But we got some more here.
As recent as yesterday's, streamed one day. March 4th, so 2 days ago. Yep.
Is he redacted in there?
Yep. There's redacteds in there.
Which somewhat begs the question, what is the value of having such a person come to speak at a caucus meeting? You know, Mises, whenever we bring up these accusations of individuals who say things that are, anti-Semitic or whatever, they seem to respond as though, we don't stand for that. Those aren't our values. How dare you paint us with that brush? The loser brigade is out here trying to slander. Okay, fine. But why are you explicitly inviting these people to your events then?
Right.
What are you trying to say? This is
bringing them to a position of, hey, come see this person. They're using that to bring people in. Somebody with these views.
But how funny is it that, like, the event they're holding is something like getting past identity politics or something like that, and they're inviting a guy who, like, rants about how much he hates Jews. Like what? Like, are they gonna invite David Duke to join the panel next? Getting past identity politics? Like, it's like, I feel like I'm on like a hidden camera TV show.
Richard Spencer seems politically homeless right now. I mean, he got, he abandoned Trump. He said he was voting for Biden, but I don't think he's probably going to stick around Democrats.
Yeah, when's the Heist harpoon coming in for that? Actually, though, there was a post in the Mises Caucus group, maybe like, I don't know, 8 months ago or so, and someone was accusing them of liking Richard Spencer, and most of the people, to their credit, said they didn't like Richard Spencer, but a lot of it was like, no, he's a socialist. And then one of their Ohio State organizers was like, no, actually, I prefer the Jared Howe and Chris Cantwell types. And as far as I know, he's still a Ohio State organizer, and he wasn't kidding. The dude's talked about being a fan of Jared Howe, and he's talked about how he understands or he sympathizes or something like that with how Howe wants to get rid of Somalis, because Jared Howe always complains about all the Somali immigrants in Maine, which is like hilarious that he's mad about that. So I want to get on the redacted thing a little more, because I have some more on that. So there was a picture of Chuck Schumer looking at Kamala Harris in January of 2020, and he said, Hotep Jesus said, redacted got to keep their slaves in check. And just to be clear that it's not like some like talking about the elites or talking about like the people who run the government or something like that. There's a tweet from December 24th, 2017, and I have the screenshot of all of these. I'd be happy to provide them. I don't know what he's deleted since then, because he likes to go through and delete his tweets. And he said, well, white ain't exactly white. She's redacted-ish. And he was referring to a Jewish person. I mean, it's obvious. Like, I don't know if anyone's going to try to make the excuse, like, maybe he's not talking about Jewish people, but, like, come on now. Another one. Congress is run by redacted who don't want U.S. citizens to have any personal sovereignty, which is the main reason why white men have come under fire. This was demonstrated today in the House hearing. Prove me wrong. Redacted don't care about black people. They use our issues and energy to pass legislation to protect themselves and to have autonomy globally. Another one from January 2020. White people are the military arm for the redacted. They are their puppets. Whenever they say fight a war, they fight the war, no questions asked. How are we feeling about that? Well, yeah, obviously. No, I'm very clearly not pro war, but I'm also not anti-Semitic. It's like a hard idea.
You're saying that libertarian view is both anti-war and anti-bigotry?
Well, there's that platform plank that I'm surprised Mises hasn't tried to get rid of yet. So it's still there that says we find bigotry irrational and repugnant. I think that's something along the lines of the wording. I might not be quoting it exactly, but they'll come for
that when they're done with the abortion.
I was going to say, once they actually like read through the platform, they're going to find that.
No, dude,
yeah,
so go ahead.
I was going to say they're focusing on the they're focusing on the abortion plank right now, but they'll get to the immigration plank, and they'll get to the bigotry plank, virtue signaling. What are you going to say, Kevin?
It's only natural in a group like the Libertarian Party that we're going to have a lot of folks who are naturally anti-authoritarian, and there are very, very legitimate criticisms to be made of the Israeli government. And what I find somewhat gets lost in the translation here is there is a line where it's no longer a rational criticism of a government policy. It's no longer a call against oppression of the Palestinian people. You're bordering on bigotry. And if you muddle that line, and if you pretend it's all the same thing, you're gonna throw the good out with the bad. It's okay to criticize Israel, but when you get to the Jews control the media, I mean, you're getting to blood libel. You're getting back to this historical precedent. I mean, whenever people get into this Jews control this or Jews poison the well, that's the precursor to ethnic cleansing. So we need to be mindful of this, and you can have these discussions logically without necessarily being a bigot. I wish Mises would just be okay with standing up to that, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I'd love to see Mises tweet out something in support of the bigotry being irrational and repugnant plank, or post something on their Facebook. That'd be nice to see. You know how many people that would piss off, like in their orbit? They'd be like, "Why are you virtue signaling?" Because they prefer to vice signal instead. What did you say, Archie?
Their a month would plummet.
Well, we got to make sure Heist can work full time. You know,
Tom Woods will not be able to visit any more islands if you say stuff like that.
We got to get Heist to the islands too. Yeah. And speaking of the, I know how Kevin was talking about like why that kind of rhetoric is bad. The kind of rhetoric, the anti-Semitic rhetoric that Hotep Jesus puts forth, and just in general. Our favorite comedian and Mises Caucus member actually was talking about how it's not bad the other day, and how the only person it's harmful to it might be Hotep Jesus. So I'll read the tweet. So this was a tweet to Dave Smith. I'm not going to say who it's from because I don't want to get them in trouble. So they said, "I'm far from being part of the loser brigade," which is us. And some other people. But I've debated them. I'm with the Mises Caucus. I financially support them and you. If you disagree, okay. But I think my points are fair. This is from they were arguing a little bit back and forth. All I'm asking any of us do is just acknowledge the rhetoric Hotep shares on Jews is wrong and harmful. So Dave said, "I can just tell you what I think. I don't need to point out who's wrong unless I want to. And I don't believe it's harmful to anyone other than perhaps himself." How are we feeling about that?
That's blatant hypocrisy.
Right.
Dave, in many other contexts, always stresses accuracy and truth, and he gets up on his high horse, and he's like, "No, it's not 0.5. It's 1/2." Like he'll go to that level of idiocy, and No. We should definitely call him out on this.
No, I'm with you there.
Well, and it's been the case made to me by some members of Mises that they are not responsible for personally patrolling their membership and kicking out all the bad ideas. They say, "Well, you're just holding up this Tyler Bratton fella. He's just a member. He doesn't have any authority or power. We can't be responsible for that. We're not the thought police." Fine. Okay. You invited this guy to come speak at your fucking event. He's like your speaker. He's not just some dude on the street. You're holding him up and elevating him as a voice within the party. Further, you were aiming to get him financially compensated for bringing people in. And we've seen from some of the things we've shared tonight what sort of people he's likely to bring in. So you can't tell me that you're not responsible for that, even if you want to avoid all responsibility for everything else that's gone on so far. This seems like a pretty clear, like, this is all you. You did this.
And I want to add something to that on the whole, like, we can't be responsible for everyone. Like, yeah, okay, there's going to be some shitty people that get into the group. But first of all, and this is maybe a lesser point, you can do something to scare them away in the first place. Like, does anyone think if I started a caucus, do you think it'd be like there'd be an influx of like alt-righters joining and be like, yeah, this caucus is great? Like, no. I don't think so.
It would literally take
the alt-right would be allergic to our caucus.
What was that, Archie?
I told John that I think the alt-right would be allergic to any caucus he started.
Like, they like to argue with me, but they're not gonna. So yeah, like some of them join the Fakertarians discussion group because they want to own the libs or whatever, but they're not gonna like donate to me. Like, are you fucking serious?
Right, and there's a reason for that. You outwardly present that, that these views are not okay, and so they'll join the discussion group because that's its own little beast. But right, I mean, nobody's going to join a caucus that, when they're a bigot and the caucus outwardly rejects bigotry, nobody's going to want in on that. And it's really not that hard to make that stand. It's not hard at all.
Even if you ignore that point, like let's say they don't think there's anything they can do to like scare those types of people away, which is bullshit. But let's cede the point for a second. How about once you find out how terrible these people actually are, like these individual members or even like state organizers or something, maybe like kick them out of the caucus. And I mean, okay, they'll kick a person here and there, but it has to turn into like this like giant thing where they have no other options. Like that guy who said they wanted to like clear the streets with body bags in relation to BLM, that guy's still there.
I have to point something out, John.
Yeah.
We're friends. I have to disagree when I disagree.
Okay.
They have shown very swift capability of kicking people out. They do. Just not the alt-right.
I was waiting for the punchline there. I was like, I know where he's going with this.
They absolutely will kick people out very quickly.
Mm-hmm. You go in there and
disagree with ICE.
You say something like bad about Heist or something, yeah, you're out of there. But I think a perfect example, so like that guy I was just talking about, the clear the streets with body bags guy. Last I checked, he's still there. We were talking about Brayton earlier. He didn't get kicked for the video with the reject your replacement, like, and the one that had like okay, the swastikas, which I feel like if you post a swastika video, you should be kicked even if they're just subliminal. But like, yeah, they were hard to see. But reject your replacement and we are the true minority. Like, what the fuck do you think that means? But
right,
that he wasn't kicked until some stuff later. But I think the best example is actually what I personally left the caucus over. I'll name drop him again, Jesse Miller. So, and I feel like this is turning into the Jesse Miller show sometimes, but it's like relevant. So this is the guy who was talking about, he was dropping all kinds of like, it was like, he was like hiding behind like a thin blanket, but it was very obvious exactly what he was saying. He was going around saying Europe is for Europeans. He was saying we should ban all immigration to the U.S. He was saying
just a cultural preference, John.
I'll get to that. He was saying libertarians need to do more about race as it relates to, oh God, what was it? I always say this. It was IQ, social cohesion, and criminality. Like, what do you think that means? Any of you guys, if someone says libertarians need to do more about race as it relates to IQ, social cohesion, and criminality, what do you have to do about criminality as it relates to race. What does that even mean?
I don't disagree. I think there should be a lot of pushback. It relates to IQ, social cohesion, and criminality. What do you have to do about criminality as it relates to race? What does that even mean? I don't disagree. I think there should be a lot of pushback. It relates to IQ, social cohesion, and criminality. What do you have to do about criminality as it relates to race? What does that even mean? I don't disagree. I think there should be a lot of pushback. It relates to IQ.
Whoa. Are we in the Twilight Zone?
What's going on here?
It's a time warp, guys.
Criminality.
Somebody's
Who's echoing?
Stop it.
somebody's computer's playing.
Are we in the Twilight Zone?
What's going on here?
It's a time warp, guys.
Criminality.
Somebody's
Stop it.
Wait. Okay.
Oh my jeepers.
Are we good? Sorry about that, everyone.
Whoa.
So I'm gonna ask,
Archie, you'll need to turn your or mute your mic when you play. Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask that again. If someone says they're in a libertarian group and they've said Europe is for Europeans, that they want to ban all immigration, if they say libertarians need to do more about race as it relates to IQ, social cohesion, and criminality, what do you think that's referring to? Is there any even like outside chance like that they're referring to something that's not like some alt-right bullshit?
If I were being generous, I would say that they mean that we should start rejecting the use of IQ as some kind of a measurement of intelligence. I think that that's an important thing to do. I agree. It's fucking stupid.
That's not what was happening. So
No.
I brought this up to Heist because I made a post one day. I don't remember exactly what it was about, but I said something like, I hope that I know this caucus has talked about rejecting the alt-right in the past, and I hope that's still true. And Heist got all mad at me and was like, well, name one alt-righter that's in this group. And I was like, this guy, Jesse Miller. And Jesse popped up. Heist starts asking him questions. And then Heist is like, he just has like a different cultural preference than you, or something like that. That's the Europe is for European stuff. So I was like, okay, no, I'm out of here. I had resigned as being a mod a few months prior to that because I was like, I can't deal with this anymore, especially because the influx. There were always some shitty people there, but like the influx of shitty people was just like no, this is getting out of control. Like I can't even influence this in a good direction anymore. So we made a post from the Fakertarians page about the whole Europe is for Europeans guy. Heist doubled down on defending him. The South Carolina Libertarian Party shared that post. Heist tripled down on defending him there and was like, no, we're not kicking this guy. You're misinterpreting what he's saying. He's cultural preference, blah, blah, blah. And then a few days later, which is like, it's the most like obvious thing ever. Like we kind of knew there was something else out there, like where we could find this guy, like not trying to hide behind like the very obvious thin veil. So we found him ranting about like Jews in the private Dave Smith part of the Problem Inner Circle group. And we brought those screenshots to the Mises Caucus's attention, and the guy was kicked. But that doesn't excuse the fact that they weren't kicking him for the other stuff. It has, like I said, it has to be the most obvious thing in the world where they have to be like, okay, like there's no chance in hell we can defend this anymore. This is going to make us look terrible for them to kick him. And I also think it's a little ironic that the stuff that this Miller guy got kicked for is basically Hotep Jesus's Twitter feed. I'm just gonna say.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, here we are, a year later, and yeah.
Isn't it the case that they only do this as damage control? That's not on principle. It's not, we disagree with this. It's like, whoa, everyone's really mad at this guy. If we leave him in the caucus, we're going to get in trouble. We better just sweep that under the rug real quick. It's like, I've never seen them vocally come out ahead of something and be like, hey, we don't want this shit. Like, I mean, they're actively embracing it until it becomes such a tipping point they fucking have to respond.
Like, right. even their helicopter joke rule, which for anyone who doesn't know, Pinochet was a dictator in South America who would throw his political enemies out of helicopters. And some edgy right-wingers like to talk about throwing like communists, or I mean, they think anyone's a communist, but throwing people they don't like out of helicopters, and they have a rule against it. But I mean, it's enforced to a point from what I've seen. But like, it's never like we're kicking you for this, or at least it's rarely like we're kicking you for this. It's like, don't say this because it might make the group get zucked. Like, it's not like we don't want like people who talk about like murdering people. This might go against Facebook community standards, and we don't want to get banned.
Right. Well, like to Kevin's point, the damage control.
Okay, so I'm looking to the comments right now.
Yeah, let the Ogle wants us to know that the Black Panther Party is ready now.
That's good, I guess. Actually, this could. I got some. Oh, okay. We got an edgelord in the comments here. He's one of our favorite edgelords from Fakertarians discussion group. I think he's a big like Dave Smith guy. He said commies aren't people.
Oh, see, thank you for illustrating exactly why.
Let's do something here. I'm gonna pull up access to the Mises Caucus group that I totally don't have because I'm definitely not in the group, and I'm gonna see if he's in there. Let's see. And he was a member. He is a member of the Mises Caucus since August 15th, 2017. He was added by Michael Heiss.
You heard, Michael Heiss. Get this man on stage as a speaker. He can tell you some more dehumanizing things about the commies. It'll be great.
So, Sam Shaw's in our comments, and I will say he's a Mises Caucus member. He's when you talk to him, he's generally like a more reasonable guy to talk to than I've had good conversations with him in the past. I disagree with him on a lot of things, but he will have a conversation with you, and he generally isn't like talking about throwing people out of helicopters or some shit. So, Sam, if you're listening and you're available right now, I'd be happy to have you call into the episode. We'd be happy to have you on. I know that you're going to see this on like a 15-second delay or something, so we'll do some delaying until then. But you're welcome to come join us if you want to talk about if you think we've been wrong on anything today. If you think our portrayal of the caucus or if Hotep Jesus is wrong, we're happy to have you on. Kyle Hinshaw would like everyone to know that he's not an official member of the Mises Caucus. And actually, I want to talk a little bit about that because it's kind of sneaky because at least when I was there, and I don't think this has changed because I was there just over a year ago. And they didn't actually have an official membership. It was basically, at least when I was a mod, it was treated as basically if you're in the group and you call yourself a member, then you're a member. I feel like if they had an official membership, it'd be a lot easier to keep them accountable because they wouldn't be able to say, oh, this guy's not actually a member. He's just some like random dude who joined our group. But then, I mean, that would kind of get rid of their shield a little bit. So I don't know if they want to do that. I mean, I know they always bring up the thing about how, then they'll go to like, oh, this guy's just a member. He's not in leadership. And then I'll show them like a guy from leadership saying the thing about how he understands why Jared Howe wants to get rid of Somalis, or another guy in leadership saying that Stefan Molyneux was right about the "we were never asked" stuff. I know one of those two said that Molyneux was also right about police shootings and immigration.
Was Molyneux ever right about anything?
Eggs. No, he wasn't.
Precious
Taylor Swift.
eggs.
So actually, while we wait for Sam to get on, I want to touch on another thing that popped up this week. So while Dave Smith was defending Hotep Jesus, and I think he backtracked on something a little bit, which like, okay, I'm not gonna kill him for that because he said that something about Hotep Jesus just being a Holocaust questioner, and then he backtracked on it saying like that he read it wrong or something like that. Like, okay, whatever. But he said something about how like because people were talking to him about Nick Fuentes too, and he was talking about how Fuentes was just making a joke in his Holocaust denial Cookie Monster video. If anyone hasn't seen that, I mean, don't watch it. It's fucking stupid. But it's some Holocaust denial thing saying like, oh, if there's 6 million ovens, how many cookies could you bake? Or no, 6 million cookies, how many ovens would you need? It's Nick Fuentes trying to make a point and flailing around miserably, but that's generally his MO. But I saw someone dig something up the other day where Fuentes, well, let me just play it. It basically shows you why this thing about how Fuentes wasn't just making a joke when he says the Holocaust denial stuff. So let me share my screen again. Hold for a second. Okay, let me go to theater mode here. Oops.
Use irony because, when it comes to something like Holocaust revision, I mean, this is a subject that you cannot deviate from the popular consensus on. But you also can't I also think you really can't tell the truth if you adhere to that. So it's sort of like getting in the middle. It's being provocative. It's being. I can't explain this in a very explicit way. You're going to have to just sort of get what I'm saying here. When it comes to a lot of these issues, you need a little bit of maneuverability that irony gives you. Oh, well, what does that mean? Well, I was being ironic. Well, I was joking. Well, it's whatever. Well, you don't understand the tone. Well, you don't understand humor. And that's true. And it is true to a great.
I don't think we need to watch anymore. I think that kind of makes my point. But that's what Fuentes does. He hides behind like, oh, it's just a joke. And because he knows that, I mean, he says a bunch of shitty stuff like already, but he knows that he can't totally say what he's thinking or he's just going to like get kicked off the internet or people aren't actually going to like, even some people that watch him now or like are curious about him are going to hear like what he actually believes. And they're going to be like, what the hell? This dude's fucking insane. You know what I mean?
Right.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Hey, Sam. So for anyone not watching the video feed, Sam Shaw, who I was just talking about before, just joined. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Good.
Good.
I know I might be in an adversarial role here, but I don't want to be.
We'll be easy on you because I know it's like 5 people against 1. I understand that. We're not
cool. I've been wanting to come on for a while.
Yeah, we'll let you talk. It's not going to be like when I went on Dave Smith's show. But so, what's your take on the whole Hotep Jesus thing? I'll give you like the floor for a bit.
Yeah, sure. So, with Hotep, I'll be honest. I really didn't know much about him. I had never heard his name until he was brought up within the caucus thread. And when he went on, I think when Dave went on his show, is the first I'd ever heard of Hotep Jesus. So I watched that interview podcast they did. And while I see where I can agree with Hotep on certain things, I feel like the things that I agree with him on, somebody else is already better at that, more articulate at that, and things of that nature. So I wasn't really impressed. And then he went on Dave's show. I watched it again, and again, I wasn't impressed. So I'm just not really a fan, to be honest with you. And I do think that his anti-Semitic stuff is problematic. And when Mises makes a decision, it's not a dictatorship always, but there is some pushback to the platforming of Hotep.
Yeah, I've talked to some people a little bit behind the scenes, and I'm not gonna out them because I don't want them to get excommunicated.
Sure.
But I know there's definitely some people in the caucus that are like, I don't think this is a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's an odd position to be in when you're forced to have to come on and try to, not forced, but have to come on and explain kind of what the caucus does as a whole when there's certain parts of you that might not agree with that. My personal view is I've been to all local meetings a bunch, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have, and we would platform and we would have senators speak, and we would have a libertarian-leaning Republican speak. And these are guys who advocate war and who have made laws that have killed people. And when looking at Hotep compared to other people that libertarians have platformed, I don't see him as being just as bad, to be honest.
I mean, but have they given this guy a recruiting link, or wanted to give him a recruiting link?
And I understand that point absolutely. And Hotep doesn't have one, does he?
No, but Heist was talking about getting him one, and then the referral program got shut down.
Yeah, exactly.
It sounded like there was an intention to.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
Well, I wish to say something, because you point out that it's somewhat troublesome that you have to come here and speak up in defense of the entire caucus. And what I would wish to say to you and to all members, you don't. You're not personally painted with the behaviors of Michael Heist. You can stand up to this stuff, and I consider a lot of you guys my friends. The problem with this is the political tribalism. Any criticism I make of the behaviors of your leadership or of the caucus at large, people take very personally. And I've had friends block me because they're like, I'm Mises, you say this is anti-Semitic, you're therefore calling me anti-Semitic. And I'd say to you what I'd say to all of them, I'm not. And I really hope that folks like yourself will stand up to those behaviors in the caucus, because we need a good, right-leaning caucus in the party. It just oughtn't be appealing to anti-Semites.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you said there. I think that the people who would unfriend somebody over something like that don't understand nuance, and you know what I mean? They don't understand situations. I'm friends with a lot of you guys on Facebook, I'm sure, and we do not agree. We don't, you know what I mean? But I'm not banning people because of that. I don't mean to say it's troublesome. I'm just trying to say that not everyone always agrees with everything that Heist says. I mean, I just spent a couple days with Heist at the convention here in Tennessee, and we have disagreements. But other than that, like you were speaking about the people that we kick out, right? And you guys were wishing that we'd get out in front of it. But you guys don't see all the people we've kicked out before. Does that make sense? We don't make a public spectacle of the people that we have kicked out before you guys rose the question of why they're still in there.
So I have two things to say on that. I don't see the people kicked out now. I mean, I was a mod for maybe a year, a little over a year. So I did see how some things went. But I would argue that, honestly, you should be posting about those kind of people, because like I was talking about before about ways to get ahead of this, if you say, so let's say someone says like something incredibly shitty, like something just like blatantly anti-Semitic, blatantly racist or something like that. If you do it behind the scenes, no one's going to even know what happened. If you do it in public and you're like, this kind of stuff isn't permitted in this caucus, we can't be having any of this, it's going to stop it from repeating. Because the people that would make those kinds of comments aren't going to be attracted to the caucus in the first place.
I understand your point there, and I think there's some, like you had mentioned earlier in the show about you wish you'd see the Mises Caucus share the bigotry platform and things of that nature. And they probably won't. I don't know why they wouldn't. I will, and I'll tell Heist to share it. We talked about that platform at the convention, and he was talking about how he was for that platform. You know what I mean? And I think it gets to this weird point of where it's like if we do that, then we're caving in, and I don't get where that tribalism happens. You know what I mean? For me, there's no issue with that. We should champion that. So
I know they say it's caving in. Like if I make or someone from Fakertarians makes a post about it, and then they make a big deal about it or something like that. But like, what if they find someone on their own? I don't think that's caving in. Honestly, like let's say tomorrow or something, someone's like posting some like stuff about like Jews running the world and something just like something totally ridiculous or something like that.
Yeah.
And you guys kick them, and I don't know, one of you, Heist or someone else, makes a post saying like, this guy's been kicked for this reason. We don't tolerate this kind of stuff in the caucus. This is not what we're about. I would share that to the Fakertarians page and literally be like, good job.
Yeah, and I think you have done stuff like that before, and I'd be for that too, and hopefully maybe in the future, you know what I mean? We can. Can I just ask a roundtable question, have each of you answer?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. For every one of you, do you think Michael Heist is a bigot?
I'll go first. I don't think so. No, not at all. There's no evidence of him being a bigot.
don't have enough evidence to suggest one way or the other. The one bit of evidence I did have suggested he might have a history of being into the same sorts of things as Hotep Jesus was saying, and so I perhaps made the connection that it's possible he might be sensitive to people who feel that way, even if he no longer feels that way himself. But there's reason to question.
I would say I don't have enough evidence to call him one, so I'm not going to call him one.
Awesome. Have any of you guys spent time with him? I know you have, John, but has anyone ever talked to him without it being combative?
Yes, I considered him a friend.
Awesome.
I would like to expand on my portion of the answer. Not just about Michael Heist, but about the entire LPMC leadership. I have absolutely no reason to call anyone at the top of the party, or top of the caucus, a bigot. I think that what is going on is that the LPMC is pursuing the paleo strategy on purpose and opening the doors to bigots.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say that's echoing off of that. I'd say that's kind of my criticism too. Like I don't think I've ever called anyone in LPMC leadership besides like that, like state organizer or two. I've never really like called them out for their specific opinions on like race or religion or any of that. It's more that kind of bigotry is. It seems like it's allowed in the caucus. I would say that's more what I'm going for.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah, absolutely. You can ask whatever. We can. I'm happy to open the floor to you.
Can each one of you say something positive about Mises Caucus? Do you have anything that you would say was positive about the Mises Caucus?
I'll start, and I will qualify it by saying that I think the caucus as a whole right now is a negative. Like I'll say that. I'll say that right away. But I will say that the reason I tried to join it in the first place was because I liked the whole make the Libertarian Party libertarian again thing. I am not a fan of Bill Weld. I did not vote for the ticket in 2016 because Weld was on it. So I liked the idea of like really going gung-ho on principles and really pushing libertarian principles. But I will also say that I didn't really see that when I was actually like when I was in the caucus for a while. I don't think that's actually what happened in practice. Like putting forward people like I'll say this too. I've criticized Maj a lot, okay? But the Black Guns Matter stuff is great. Like go with that. That's cool. Yeah. But if you're making him like one of the figureheads of your caucus, and it's a guy going around saying that that national borders are like a house, I don't think that's radical libertarian principles. Like I probably align most with the radical caucus. So if the Mises Caucus was really like radical libertarian principles, yeah, let's go. Like I'd be like, okay, yeah, I'm signing up.
But is it fair to say, John, that you were in the caucus early on?
Yeah, I was. Okay. I was probably in there within the first month, and then I really ramped it up because I was good friends with Josh Smith, and when they endorsed him for chair, I was very involved in that. I actually think I'm pretty sure we were both admins on Josh's 2020 chair run page.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah. So yeah, I wasn't just like hiding behind the scenes or something. Like I was actually involved.
Awesome. Anybody else got anything to say positive?
Yes. Because again, I'm not sure how familiar you are with me or my relationship to the caucus in the past, but I was the one who made the motion to have you recognized in California because despite being your literal opposite, I am a libertarian socialist, and a lot of your leadership have nothing kind to say about my philosophy, but I've long believed in what is now called bottom unity, that we need people of all political dispositions. And though I have my tendencies, I envision when the government is out of my life, I would organize my society very differently from you. But I want you and people who think like you to be on my team because we all seem to agree that the problem is the authoritarian government. You can go have Ancapistan, and I want to go have my communes, and we can totally just live and let live. But for that to work, your caucus just needs to be better. I think that you guys have massive potential, and I don't want to disband you. I don't want to see you canceled, hashtag, whatever. I want you guys to live up to libertarian philosophy. I think that you stand to do what needs to be done to bring people in from the right, but we're not just opening the floodgates here. It's not just, hey, everybody come on in. It's like, we want you to learn about what we stand for and represent that well. So I have hope for you, but it's going to come down to folk like you to stand up to your leadership.
Can I respond to Kevin real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, if my camera was on, you would just saw me just nodding my head in agreement a bunch with what you were saying. And plus, we share a last name, so I'm like, who is this guy? I want to like him. I want to like you. Yeah, I want to like you naturally. But just in these last 7 minutes or 10 minutes that we've been speaking, that's as most positive things about the Meat Stalkers I've ever heard any of you say. So I just want to put that out there that the message is us having conversations like this is going to blow this shit over. It's going to heal this shit. You know what I mean? So, but the connotation out there is that you guys are always critical. Do you see what I mean?
No, I get you.
And that the stupid loser brigade bullshit. I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, I'm glad to hear you think there's a place for us. I'm glad to hear. And constructive criticism is one thing, but I think what you guys do sometimes can be construed as just piling on a bunch and a bunch and a bunch and a bunch and a bunch. You know what I mean? But I'm all for.
I would wish to say, friend, that when I make a criticism of someone like Michael Heiss or Hotep Jesus or any of these things that go on, people on the right look to me with just utter contempt. They hate my fucking guts. But when I attack the people on my own side, like Mike Shipley or Jeff Wood, whenever I go after misbehavior on my side, they're all cheering and they're all. It's like it's this tribalism. And likewise, the people on the left, when I go after Mises Caucus votes, are all in unison. But when I attack people on the left, they're all like shutting their ears and not down to hear it. I wish people would just be consistent and hold the folk on their own team accountable with no regard for political tribalism.
Well, you mean a lot of us go online not to learn, we go for like affirmation of what we already kind of believe. You know what I mean? So people, and especially on social media, you create your own echo chamber of people who disagree or agree with you, and you're not challenged at any time. That's why I like to come on and do things like this, so I can hear, you know what I mean? Hear the challenges and the difficulties, and hopefully address and put some people's, minds at ease about who is inside the Mises Caucus and what we're actually doing. You know what I mean? But I do want to get to, it is a small thing, not a small thing, the Hotep stuff, but what I'm saying is there is a lot of good that we do is what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? We do give to a lot of local candidates and get people elected, and they're not necessarily Mises people. Like, we're not just backing our own. And I hope you guys can realize that, or at least see it in the future if you haven't already.
Well, and that's actually one of my positive one of my positive things that I do see is I do appreciate the organization, the PAC, and and what power that can bring. It's just it is just what power it can bring, and is it necessarily always being used correctly or in a way that is good. That's left to be determined to some extent because everything is still new, but I do appreciate the the organization and the and the power and the recruiting and the ability to do that. I mean, that does take a lot of work, and that does take people with specific and special sets of talent. That it's something that I could never do. So it's definitely, that for me is the positive.
So I wanted to add something else quick just while we're on the topic, about like the thinking that the criticism is just piling on and all that, and like being sincere and stuff like that. So when I left, so I was a mod until maybe November of 2019. I resigned from that. I stayed in the caucus for a bit. I left late February 2020, after that story I just told about the Europe, it's for Europeans guy. I was going back and forth with the leadership publicly after that. And I offered to just to show that I wasn't just trying to tear everything apart. I offered publicly to, and it was honestly, it was in good faith. I offered to come back as a mod and help them deal with the issue. Because I was saying there's an issue with some alt-right people joining up. I wasn't saying that the leadership is alt-right. I wasn't saying that everyone in the caucus is alt-right. I was just saying that some of those people are attracted to the caucus. And if the leadership is willing to take the issue seriously, I'd be happy to come back on board and help deal with it. And I think Josh was a little bit receptive to me from what I heard, but everyone else wasn't, to say the least.
Yeah, I understand that point. And when you were joined, it was real early in the caucus. I know you said you didn't see a lot of organization and things like that, but a lot of strides, have been made. I wouldn't have any problem with you coming back on. You know what I mean?
I doubt that would happen, but
I doubt that's going to happen too.
But I'll leave that offer open. If they were serious about dealing with the problem and wanted to make me a moderator, and I would be happy to work with them.
Did you just hear that? I just got kicked out. Shit, my bad. No, I'm just kidding. Shit.
You're going to be a co-host next week.
Yeah, I know, right? No, I'm just kidding. But we got to have these conversations, man. What's up with the hating each other? It doesn't make any sense to me.
No, I agree. The conversations are good to have. I'm happy to talk about this. That's why I even invited you on,
Yeah, and I really appreciate it, man.
I don't think there's any way in hell it would happen. But if Heiss wanted to come on and talk about this, I am literally more than welcome. I will give him the floor and talk with him about it.
Not gonna happen.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
I'm just letting you know. That's not gonna happen.
I know. He has me blocked on 3 different Facebook accounts. So.
Yeah. That won't happen. But I did. We just had our Tennessee convention, a couple weekends ago. And there is some division online and stuff, but I met everybody there. Mises had a booth, Outright had a booth. I think the Radicals and Prags had a booth, and there was no fighting at all in person. It's weird to me when I did get some dirty looks, and I would throw out my hand and be like, "My name's Sam. I'm with Mises, and fuck the bullshit. Let's work together." And I got a little "fuck you, dude." You know what I mean? But other than that, it went great. The convention was amazing, and I met a lot of people. Spike spoke at it. I don't know how you guys feel about Spike. I love Spike Cohen.
Yeah, we like Spike.
So we had a good time, but I was told that, the unity of our convention is not like other states. Sometimes there is a big divisive run between people and it's a little more contentious. So I'm not sure as a whole, because I think we forget that we're all in one party and we all are, like Kevin said, anti-authoritarianism, you know what I mean? So we all want a world set free. It's just, we got to remember and not kill each other in the process,
Hey, we're not supposed to kill each other? Oh, God. What have I been doing?
Sam, I would like to add a couple points. First of all, you asked all of us to try to say something positive about Mises Caucus, and I don't want to floor everyone here. I have a post, literally a screenshot from Michael Heiss from back when I was still in the caucus, that I took to be quite inspirational about libertarianism as a message as a whole for the world. And I took that post, I put it into a Word document format, and I printed it, and it is stuck to my refrigerator to this very day. And
that's awesome.
The reason I'm highlighting this is because that's a microcosm of the good messaging that the LPMC has. They do have a huge amount of good messaging, and that can't be denied. The problem is that they are engaging in that paleo strategy, and they think that that's going to grow the party when, in fact, it's going to do the opposite. It's going to tear us apart. The other thing I would like to add is that today, in a small piece of irony, because this guy apparently is not aware of Twitter and what I say on Twitter, I was defending the Mises Caucus on a Facebook post, and I was called a Nazi because I was saying you can't judge them all for just being a member. It's not black and white. You have to judge individuals as individuals. And this guy's like, "Oh, you would have defended Confederates, and in World War II Germany, you would have been defending Hitler." And it's like, dude, you really have no idea. Because if you ask anyone that knows the Mises Caucus, who's one of the loudest voices right now against them, it's me. And I'm like, the irony is almost going to overload my internet connection. But my point here is, I don't judge individuals by the institutions, and I don't judge the institutions by the individuals. These are two very disparate things, and if you don't account for that plain fact of life, if it's like ACAB. No, they aren't. Cops are human, just like everybody else.
They are?
Most of them are institutionally backed into a corner to support all of the bad shit. Most of them don't have the capability to stand up against the institution like that. And we don't need... Who'd we lose? We lost Kevin.
You scared Kevin away.
Yeah. Sorry. We don't need necessarily to judge all individuals because of what they belong to. Obviously, there are different shades of that. A member of the KKK is not going to be the same thing as a member of whatever other group that might be Scientology or whatever. Like there are shades of badness to institutions. Don't get me wrong, but when you drop the humanity from the equation, you become the problem.
I understand that. Look, Kevin is so anti-authority. When you mentioned cop, his connection dropped.
No, I'm really,
got out of there.
I'm really stupid. I pressed the login button and it disconnected me. It's my fault.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. And a part about the messaging and you still have it on your refrigerator. I didn't know that about you, Archie. And I've only heard really bad things about you. You know what I mean? I mean, I'll be honest. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's hard to remember. It's hard to remember that we're all in the same side.
I'm actually part of Biden's cabinet.
But I mean, it's like, but where do you guys see this moving forward with Mises Caucus? Like, I mean, you don't want to disband the caucus. Kevin, you said you don't want it canceled. I mean, what's the future for the LP then? Is it a tent for both of us? Is it a takeover?
I mean,
is it a get us out? You guys need to win.
I'm worried that the caucus is getting worse, honestly, and I'm worried that it's going to be. Okay. I'm with the direction it's going, because I don't think someone like Hotep Jesus. I don't think a year ago that the caucus would have let him in, because like I was saying about that Jesse Miller guy, he was complaining about, he was complaining about like Jews running the world, and he got kicked for that. And now someone's being propped up and saying that same kind of stuff. So I think things are getting worse. And I think unless the problem's dealt with, it's going to be one of those things where one side, I don't think, I'm not saying this is what I want, but I'm saying that I don't think Mises and you can maybe call it anti-Mises or whatever you want. I don't think they're going to be able to coexist if things keep getting worse, because I think one side's going to win out. I don't know which, but I don't know. I don't think they're going to coexist if things keep getting worse.
It seems to me the case that the good members of Mises have themselves an uphill fight, because a lot of the problem is in your leadership, and your leadership has ensured he can never be voted out. So I don't know what you're going to do. I love so many of the individuals in Mises that I have hope that they may save their caucus. But, the issue I had with the LibSoc caucus was just it was too far gone. I couldn't save it, and I bailed because I couldn't be tied to an organization that so horribly misrepresented everything I stood for. So it seems to me that that's the two options. Either you're going to have to find a way to hold your leadership accountable, or, as has been happening with my comrades Archie and John and all the other folks I know, I mean, they're just going to end up leaving. The good folks are going to have to distance themselves for the sake of their own honor, and that's a shame.
Yeah, I want to add too that I don't know, Sam, I don't know if you know about Archie's background, but he was a state organizer for the Mises Caucus too.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he was you were the Vermont state organizer, right, Archie?
Yep.
Can we go around and ask, is any one of you in a caucus, or is any one of you in actual LP party politics and members of the actual LP party, the national party?
I am a member of the party, and I've thought about joining the Radical Caucus. I'm still unsure because I don't know. Something about the whole caucus thing kind of rubs me the wrong way sometimes because I don't like how tribal it is. But definitely, if there was one caucus I wanted to join, it would be the Radical Caucus.
I am currently the chairman for the San Fernando Valley, former vice chairman for Los Angeles County, former at-large representative for the state of California, currently serve on the Judicial Committee, and I think I'm still on the National Blockchain Subcommittee, but we don't do a whole lot. So yes, I'm deeply, deeply entrenched in LP politics. I was formerly a member of exactly one caucus, the Libertarian Socialist Caucus, and I joined because I wanted to make it better because they pissed me the fuck off. They were constantly just making lefties look like idiots. I was like, these guys are dumb. What am I going to... I've been criticizing them for years from the outside. Let me try to fix it. I couldn't fix it. I left. I am only a member of one caucus now, and that is the Libertarian Psychedelic Caucus, and it's because they have a very practical mission of getting psychedelics legalized. It's something I could still justify working with, but largely I think caucuses are unproductive, unnecessary tribalism.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, yep, I got my LP national card.
I'll kill her.
So I'm actually fairly new to the party itself. Really only getting kind of involved more since I was brought on to Fakertarians. I was generally apolitical before that, so I think the last time I had voted, I don't even remember. But I think actually it was Bob Barr was on the 2008.
I'm sorry.
I did vote for him. But yeah, so I'm still fairly new. So I'm caucusless as well. I probably agree most with Radical, but I don't think I'll find myself joining any caucus. Outside Waffle House Caucus. There gets to be some more formal organization around that. But yeah, I don't like the tribalism.
Archie?
When I left LPMC, I said I was not going to join any caucuses so long as I am still a chair. I'm chair of the Vermont LP. I'm a member of National. If I can get my finances to the point where I want them to be, I would strongly consider an at-large for the LNC. I am all in. Ironically, it was Starwark that convinced me to join the LP. I was watching the 2016 convention. He said something that I just couldn't refute, which is to the effect of, if you don't join, you can't make a difference. And I'm like, yep, it's a absolute shit show with Hillary versus Trump. And something's gotta give here. The United States is gonna fall apart if good people don't join in and try to fix it. So I'm going to be a libertarian as long as the Libertarian Party can exist in a meaningful way.
To quote somebody, I'm a libertarian for life.
Whoa, hey, no, you don't need to go there.
That's a Bill Weld quote for anyone who doesn't know.
I just had to. I think that was part of our. Part of our early recurring intro.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, right before "I'll Eat Your Ass" by Alex Jones.
Well, I mean, Kevin, to your point, a psychedelic decrim is something that Mises is passionate about, and Michael Heiss himself is passionate about as well. You know what I mean? So there is some things that we all can agree on, and maybe, you know, I understand the criticisms that you guys bring, but maybe we can also start to work together on the alleyways that we can actually make effective change. You know what I mean?
You've got to understand, Mr. Shaw, this hatred is one-sided. I don't hate the right. Most of my dearest friends are on the right. Most of those in this chat are on the right. I've never had a problem working across the economic aisle, but there is a deep-seated feeling among your leadership that folk like me have no place in this party, and it is their intent to make me unwelcome or outright remove me. So keep in mind that as you approach me amicably and with your hand out in friendship, that you're just one person, and your organization doesn't necessarily feel the same way.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if I give the effect that you're the one piling on the hate. I know it's a two-way street. You know what I mean?
No. I only wish to say this is the trouble when people come representing philosophies. As individuals, we might be perfectly friendly to each other, but in a sense, your caucus is incredibly hostile to me. Do you know why there's a rule against jokes about throwing people out of helicopters? Because they were always joking about throwing people like me out of helicopters. And that shit's not fucking funny. When you get into this whole like, oh, commies aren't fucking humans, that's a real thing people feel. And so when you're inviting a lot of people in who are kind of that mindset, like, yeah, there's trouble to working together, and I want it to go away. I would like very much for you guys to just be the best ANCAP caucus out there and really represent. I was proud of you when you didn't just jump on fucking what's his face's dick, the guy who left the GOP, Amash. I was proud because I think a lot of us expected. I think a lot of us expected Mises Caucus to just do the pragmatic thing and jump on his dick, but you guys were like, no, fuck that. Like you stood for this, and this, and we're holding you accountable. And I was like, way to go, Mises. All right. But so in order for us to work together on the things we agree on, you have to agree that there's space for people like me. It's not that I don't think ANCAPs belong.
I understand that. I just want to say I do believe commies are people. So I mean,
I appreciate that's a low bar, but I appreciate it. I appreciate it, and I'm not
hit that bar at least.
And we libsocks aren't like normal commies. We hate on Marxists all day long. Like we fucking shit on these authoritarian Che Guevara, fucking Mao, Stalin bastards. Anybody who's out there apologizing for the people that sought to crush us from existence doesn't really understand libertarian socialism. But I mean, historically, it's just coterminous with anarchism. You guys really shouldn't be so weirded out about lefties.
I gotcha. And for the record, I mean, the Amash thing, I was never like a huge fan anyway. I think the Prags jumped on him really big time, but I haven't really seen much that I like from him since he's joined the party, really. Actually, he pissed me off as an anarchist, really.
Yeah. Justin's, I mean, he's got the he's got the name, he's got the past presence, being an elected member of Congress, which is nice, but there's definitely some steps toward libertarianism that he definitely needs to take.
Oh yeah, no, I'll lose hella anarchist street cred for saying I was interested in seeing how Amash would speak, how he would conduct himself, because I had no plans of voting for him, and I was very critical of like, who are you to come in at the 11th hour, declare yourself a libertarian, and go clawing for our nomination? Who the hell do you think you are? But I was interested in seeing what his arguments were, because from a purely pragmatic standpoint, he's one of the less horrible people to have done the job, and if he wants to be less horrible still by working with us, I'd be curious what his arguments were. But it's a shame we never got to see him debate.
Who do you guys think the LP will run in 2024?
Vermin Supreme.
Awesome.
I think, like, if I had to guess, if I had to put money on it, I think it'll be Amash. I don't think the secret Mises Caucus. Am I allowed to talk about the secret Mises Caucus candidates or no?
Sure, go ahead.
I don't think.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think Dave's gonna win. I'm just saying. Sorry, Dave.
The presidency? You don't think he's gonna win?
I don't
either.
I don't think he's gonna win the nomination either. I think.
Oh, I got you. Oh, the nomination. Okay.
I think he's too alienating. Like, I think he's gonna pump up the base like crazy, but I think he's too alienating to the rest of the party, and I think that's
understood.
Even strategically, I think that's a big mistake that Mises is making right now, because you guys have talked about. I've seen, what did Josh win in his last chair run? Like, was it like 38% or something like that?
I believe so, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah. So let's say it's 38%. And I've seen people say that, like, okay, that means that Mises is 38% of the party. And I don't think that's true, because Josh actually did have some appeal outside of just Mises. And I think Hornberger also had some appeal outside of just Mises as like a radical open borders guy. Mm-hmm. But I don't think Dave's going to have the same thing.
Yep, agreed.
Who would you like to see?
I'd be interested if Spike ran. I'd be interested if Vermin ran. But I'm open. I'll see who runs.
Yeah. I would like to run my friend Dr. Kenneth Brett Olson. I want to run his new dog Gita as our presidential candidate, because I'm really sick of human candidates. They've been letting me down, and his dog is just such a good pupper.
Definitely better than Bill Weld.
Grookey is better than Bill Weld.
Is female name better than Bill Weld?
Female name for everything 2024.
I was actually thinking
Hell
we're doing
yeah.
that. We're doing that March Madness Fakertarians bracket we do soon, where we have like 64 people or whatever, and we say like who's the worst Fakertarian, and we do people from like all different parts of the party. Like I put my own name in there. There'll be like Mises in there. There'll be Radicals in there. There'll be like Libsocks in there. I was thinking of having an Ogle wing and just have like female name 1 through 8.
All right, let's see what he says in the comments.
Oh wait, so we can keep going around on the presidency thing though. I don't want to cut that off.
I would probably like to see Spike again. Definitely Spike. Otherwise, I don't know who yet. 4 years is a long way away. I mean,
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who runs.
Right. 4 years is a long way away. I mean, this last 4 years was one hell of a decade. So we'll see. Hopefully, it's somebody that I can put penny bets on Predict It, and make another, $300 off my $20.
I did that too on Spike winning the VP nomination. Archie or I think Kevin already answered, right?
No.
Yeah, Dr. Kenneth Brett Olson's dog.
I have no prediction for something that far out. I'm not going to do it. We have 3.5 years for a meteor to wipe out the human race. One tweet can change politics permanently. I'm not trying to predict that far out.
So does that mean you're running?
No.
Is this an announcement?
This is not an announcement.
Is this a bad time to say that Flowers running with Dave as his VP?
You're not supposed to say that.
There will be more of a chance of Hillary Trump unity ticket than that.
That's not so far off, man.
Oh,
Fucking, that's really not as unthinkable. They represent the same sort of corruption.
Right.
Dude, I just saw some crazy video of like these Trump people unfolding a huge Trump 2024 flag and walking down New York with it. I just saw it on Twitter. I was like, it's a cult, dude. I mean, it's crazy.
It is. It's absolutely a cult. It's a cult. There's nothing not cultish about it.
We got to trust Q.
Oh my God. Hey, didn't that day already pass?
Yeah.
Like, wasn't that like the other day? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think it was like 2 days
Jesus
ago.
is, it's like the rapture. They just keep pushing it off. You know what I mean? Jesus is coming
the
back.
world's ending.
No, he's coming back. He's going to still come back. Yeah.
Q's coming back.
You know what really pissed me off about the Q thing the most is they kept calling them drops. They were like, oh, it's the next Q drop, and they really missed an opportunity to call them Q tips. See what I did there?
Oh, dude, I didn't know anything about it until these people, like, they say, like, I'm a baker and I'm baking his bread and he leaves me. I'm like, what? What's going on?
Yeah, the Q stuff.
I mean, it makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, Q stuff. What have I seen? Joe Biden's just acting at Tyler Perry's movie studio.
Jesus Christ.
Some of the stuff is just absolutely insane. Yeah, and then the whole March 4th sovereign citizen crossover was just great. The whole organic act that, if you don't know what the organic act did, all it did was take 2 cities that were Washington, D.C. and made it one city. Like, that's literally all it did. And there's all these conspiracies about it turning the U.S. into a corporation, and then you get into maritime law stuff, and the courtroom
the
is
yellow
a ship,
fringe on
and
the flag or whatever.
Yep, gold fringe on the flag, and but yeah, that whole crossover was just hilarious. But no, nothing happened.
I saw like a documentary that was basically claiming that Q is just like the owner of 8chan or whatever.
Yeah, I've heard that.
He did it for a lark, and then it took off, and they just kept doing it. Like, they're just trolling the whole base. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, and I bet they made a lot of money off of it. Like a lot of people coming to the site.
Well, yep.
Make a killing doing that.
A lot of people have made so much off that. I mean, so yeah, it could just be this. It started off as a joke and turned into a grift and turned into a cult and oof.
I'm starting to hope for that Archie Flower meteor now.
I'd vote for it.
I'm not sure how to react to that. I really.
I know how you should react to that. You should come play spaceships with me.
Oh, wow.
Please, everybody, go to the comments. Remind Archie to play spaceships with me immediately.
If you all get Elon Musk to, send us to actual outer space, then we can maybe talk about this.
I am all for it.
Okay, do we have anything else we'd like to touch on? I mean, Sam, you can float anything you want to.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm good. I just wanted to come on finally because I had been in the comment section for a while, and I just want to say that I'm glad we could talk amicably. Yeah. And
it's good talking.
I did when I first learned of the Fakertarians. I made like a video at work, and I was like, I'm going to be in the comment section, and I'm going to prove them wrong, these motherfuckers. And I saw that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then in those comments talking about that, what was that young guy's name who used to be the host up here? Brian, maybe. I can't.
Oh yeah, Brian Hagen. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. He said you can tell this Sam guy's in the cult. And right underneath that, I was like, man, you don't know me. And then right underneath that, he's like, you're right, I don't know you. And then from then on, once we broke that ice, we started talking and friending and actually, you know what I mean? Having human moments instead of fucking hating each other. So let's do it again in the future. You know what I mean? And hopefully Mikas Caucus can grow to be what everyone needs it to be and have a place in the party. And then Kevin, maybe we can work on loving your peoples too, man, and change the fucking world.
I like it.
Okay. Anyone have anything else they want to say before we wrap up?
Fuck the police.
That's a good note to end on.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks to Sam for joining us, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right. Bye.
Buy shirt, get money. No, other way. We get money. You send money, we get shirt.